Cillian Murphy, do you want to talk to us about your favorite moment from season 3 of Peaky Blinders?
Oh, wow. Let me have a little think. It's a tough question. I guess, I mean, I liked the opening episode because Steve Knight writes such great cliffhangers, and he left, you know, season 2 on such a cliffhanger, and you know, there was a lot of anticipation to see what would happen with Tommy and who he would marry and all of that. And I thought that first episode captured that tension very, very well. And the sort of reveal of who the bride was, and then the awful atmosphere that was in the house and the wedding, which was everything that a wedding's not supposed to be. I thought that the whole first episode I'm very, very proud of. I'll probably think of a better moment as we talk.
Oh, that's good. So, like, it opened with him marrying Grace this season, and it sort of met a bit of a sort of tragic end towards the at the end of the season. Can you also talk to us about that Grace relationship throughout the course of season 3?
Yes, well, I mean, when we meet him at the beginning of season 3, you know, he kind of ostensibly has everything that he could wish for, you know, certainly materially, and you would expect emotionally, because he now has, you know, the woman that he loves, and he has a little baby, and he lives in this vast mansion, but something's not right. And I suppose Grace and the kid represent kind of the purity in his life, you know, really. And then over the course of the season, she gets stolen away from him, and then right at the end, the kid gets stolen away from him, and so they kind of, everything that's pure in his life seems to be under threat throughout the course of this series.
Now, I got a lot of people heard I was talking to you again this year and got sent like a lot of questions on Twitter. What people wanting me to ask you: are we going to see Grace back? Is it going to be a return of Grace? Do you want to like address that at all?
Well, I think she's dead. So, I mean, yeah, I think she's dead. So that's pretty final, isn't it?
It's going to be pretty hard to see her return.
I mean, yeah, unfortunately, you know, such a great character, and Annabelle Wallis is such a fantastic actor. Yeah, but yeah, I think she's pretty dead.
Yeah. We've got all the like Jon Snow speculation happening with Grace.
I see. Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, listen. Yeah. I don't know. Steve Knight's in charge. He may find a way. He's good at that stuff. So never say never, I suppose. But she's dead.
Yeah. So what do you think with this season of the show? What do you think the biggest like character development was for Tommy this season?
Well, I think it's the most under pressure we've ever seen Tommy. You know, over 1 and 2, you see him kind of, he's an incredibly capable character, and he seems to be able to deal with anything that's thrown in his way. But I think in 3, he actually takes on more than he can handle. When they go after his family, his own personal family, and then his extended family, that's when he really kind of, I think, the wheels begin to spin a little bit, you know, and then he gets this incredible beating within an inch of his life, and we don't quite know what's happened to his poor head and brain. So yeah, it seems to me that it's the most damaged we've ever seen him, you know. And I think that last episode, when he sort of, what he appears to betray the family, it's very hard to figure out what's going on in his mind and what's actually motivating him and what's driving him now, you know.
Yeah, and you said how much you liked the actress and things like that. What was your reaction when you read that Grace was dying in the series?
No, man, you know, I was heartbroken. she's such a fantastic character, and you know, such a great time working with Annabelle on the show. And you know, she kind of, in 1 and 2, she kind of altered Tommy. I think that light side of Tommy that he left behind in the trenches and in France was kind of reignited by her. And I love the duality of the character, because she is this, on one hand, this sort of secret agent, and on the other hand, she's, you know, a loving wife, and she's a strong lady. Steve Knight writes such strong women. So yeah, it's a bit of a shocker to read it, but that's the nature of these series, isn't it? You know, every now and then the major character needs to cop it, and unfortunately for this, it was great. But I thought it was an amazing ending to the second episode. You know, the sort of the like, no, surely not. What's just actually happened, and you know, the what that would do to a character like Tommy, and what the spiral it would send him on, was very interesting to play. But yeah, it was a bit of a shocker.
Do you reckon Tommy will ever marry again?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting. What does he say at the end of 6? He says, "I'm going to buy a racehorse and go back to Birmingham." Who knows? You know, Steve Knight is such an unpredictable writer. It's very, very exciting when the scripts arrive, because no matter how much you think you know the character and how much you think you can sort of predict his sort of arc or trajectory, he always surprises you. So it'll be very interesting to see what he does. But yeah, Tommy needs a good woman, doesn't he? Really keep them together.
What's been the biggest surprise for you ever in the series, in reading the scripts?
Well, the end of series 2, I really genuinely did not know how he was going to get out of that. The scene in the field with the grave, I genuinely did not know how he would write him out of that. And again, it's a tribute to Steve's brilliant writing. And he puts him in such extreme positions, you know, throughout the 3 series. He's put him in places where you think, surely not. And he manages to get out of it. And it's a joy to read them, but when you actually get them, and then it's obviously a joy to play them.
Yeah. What do you think? What's do you think the thing about Tommy that is sort of maybe the least appreciated thing about him? The thing that like most people might not know about Tommy, but that you know about him from having played him for 3-4 seasons now.
He's a great dancer. Yeah. He secretly loves dancing. So there's a lot of his time just dancing in the stables. No, he, you know, I think what I hope is there when you watch the character is that there is this other side to him that is sort of, you know, quite soft and quite, you know, sensitive. They're the wrong words, but you know what I mean. I think that's the part of him that died in France, and it's alluded to over the course of the show. I think Polly talks about it, and that kind of sense of fun and sense of humor, which you occasionally see with Arthur and John. I think that is definitely there, and I try to play it, you know, a few layers below the surface so you can kind of see it, because, you know, you need to have a smell of that for an audience to want to spend time with a character like that, I think, you know, and to see that there is somebody, unfortunately it wasn't Grace, but there may be somebody that can just, you know, grab him by the ears and go, you're going to be all right. You're going to be okay. I hope that you can get a smell of that, you know.
If you were to describe Tommy in like a sentence or two, what do you think defines him? What do you think is like sort of central motivation is?
Well, you know, relentless and unafraid. I think the unafraid thing is quite powerful. That, you know, unafraid to die or accepting of death due to what he witnessed in the First World War. And, you know, he has seen things that no man should see and live with. And they all experienced trauma like that, and now we have a name for it, PTSD. But so yeah, unafraid, and I think he doesn't see a ceiling on what you can achieve in life, because he knows that it can be snapped out at any moment.
Do you think there's a particular scene or moment from season 3 that highlights that?
What, that sort of fearlessness?
Yeah.
Well, I think, yeah, when he goes after his boy, when the boy gets stolen, I think you see that nothing will stop that man to get that kid back. When he's in the tunnel, we've established that he was traumatized by the tunneling in the First World War, and he goes down the tunnel. And I loved shooting that, because it felt to me when he was in the tunnel, and we shot it, and it was so tiny and so claustrophobic. It was in one of those, those nightmares you have where you can neither move forward or back. And it was terrifying. But yet he goes on. And he's just that sort of chap,
What was the hardest scene or moment for you as an actor this season on the show?
I mean, the whole thing is challenging due to the nature of the schedule, and it's a very talky show. There's a lot of dialogue, and there's a lot of big scenes for Tommy, and he's kind of, this season particularly, there was a lot of trauma that he had to endure. I don't know, man. I love doing it. I love the big scenes. I love working with Helen McCrory. I love working with Paul Anderson. I love working with Tom Hardy. I relish those big scenes, those confrontational scenes. They're very, very satisfying for an actor when you get that caliber of actor acting opposite, so there's nothing that you always go home from work going, wow, I went to work today,
How's it like acting opposite Tom Hardy? What's he like on set?
Well, I mean, me and Tom go back, we've worked together quite a bit over the years, and it's just great. We have a good thing going, I think, in terms of we understand each other. And I think that not only me and him, but, Tommy and Alfie, I think, have a kind of an understanding. So it always, it's kind of, it's a little bit special when it kicks off, and it's kind of unpredictable, which I like as well,
What do you think? Is there anything you ever find hard to understand about Tommy, or that you've struggled with how to play a certain aspect of Tommy's character?
Yeah, I mean, he's the most unlike me character I've ever played, because of all the reasons I've earlier, touched upon. It's just trying to, like, he never seems to sleep. He never seems to eat. And that sort of relentless drive is really hard to get your head around, but you have to understand that he's formed by his experiences. And he is a leader of men, or these people that just naturally are sort of leaders of men. And then I kind of, I do understand that the nefarious deeds that he has to carry out that are ultimately, I think, his ultimate goal, is an honorable one. So that helps.
Yeah, like being in a show for like a couple of years or 3 years, do you think there's any way you've played Tommy that has sort of now informed how his character's written?
Well, I mean, I think there's an exchange always between the actor and the character. You can't play a character, no matter how far away he is from you, without, bringing something of yourself to it. And the more you play it, then I suppose the more part of you he becomes, or part of you, I don't know, there's an exchange. And also I think, me and Steve know that character very, very well, but it becomes a kind of a collaborative thing when we talk about the character, because I've been playing him for 3 years and Steve's created him. So you really can talk with like on a real shorthand. It's very kind of, exciting.
A real great part of the show is the music. and like you've had Radiohead and David Bowie and stuff. And like, do you have a favorite piece of music that they've played on the show, and is there a piece of music that you'd most like to see on the show?
Well, this series was kind of, I couldn't believe like the fact that we had Radiohead and David Bowie and Leonard Cohen and all of these people willingly, giving their music to the show. I mean, Radiohead are, one of my favorite bands that have been since I was like a teenager, and they've sort of were the soundtrack to my childhood. And the fact that they wanted to give their music, the fact that David Bowie, asked for his music to be in the show, and when they used that Lazarus track, and I don't know what episode it was, 4 or 5, but it was very, very moving for me, and I think for anybody that was a fan. And then when You and Whose Army at the end of Ep 1, yeah, it's like, it's kind of it's pinch yourself stuff when people like that want to be involved in something that you're involved in.
Yeah, you're saying David Bowie wanted his music on the show's Radiohead. Like, you ever heard a reaction from Radiohead about having their music on your show?
Yeah, I heard directly from the guys. They really liked the show, and they were, very generous in offering their music. It's kind of like, you can't believe it,
Yeah. What's the most fun thing that happened on the set in the past season?
Oh, mate, it's like I don't know. I'm not very good at remembering hilarious anecdotes. I don't know. It kind of blurs into one. It really does. It's just like, it's 4.5 months of getting up, driving, being Tommy Shelby, getting back in the car, having, some pasting, learn your lines, going to sleep. And I'm sure something hilarious happened along the way, but I can't remember it. Maybe you'll see it on the DVD extras.
What's more broadly, I guess, the culture of the set then, and what is it like being in that environment?
Well, it is like a family now. That's the nature of these, returning shows, then the returning actors. We all of us guys, Helen and Paul and Joe, we're all like, very, very close, and it's like no time has passed when you get together on a set, and I love hanging out with them, But the nature of the schedule is such that there's very little socializing really. We just like see each other for like 14 hours, and then work, and then go to bed. Not together, but
Yes. Yeah. Does your real life family watch the show? What do they think of it?
Oh, I mean, my boys they're too young for it.
Yeah.
So maybe when they're a bit older, they'll watch it. Yeah, but people in Ireland like the show.
That's good. Let's think about it, for a second. Like, what you've been renewed for 2 extra seasons, season 4, season 5. When you were wrapping up season 3, did you know that you were coming back for a year or 2?
No. It happened, I think, after the first episode was transmitted. I think then that's when the BBC made the call.
Yeah,
which is a great vote of confidence in the show, and we're really thrilled that the BBC would commission not 1 but 2 more episodes. It's great for us, and I think it's great for British television, that they have the confidence to do that, and that the show is not just recognized at home, but it's recognized in the States and all over the world. It's sold to a crazy number of countries, and people connect to it in a mad way, which you wouldn't expect from a show about Brumby gangsters. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And that must be like, what's it like wrapping up sort of a season, not knowing whether you're going to come back next year or not?
I mean, I don't know. It's all that I've ever known up until now. It's generally been the way. So when we did the first one, we're like, well, what do you think? Is it going to happen again? And then it did. And then we did the second one, and you're in the same situation. But now it's lovely knowing that this is the graph or the arc of the show. And, we're gonna tell the rest of the story in 2 more seasons, and I think it's great for Steve Knight to be able to go, okay, how am I gonna tell the end of this saga?
I guess the better question would be for me to ask you next year, what's it like wrapping up a season of a show and knowing you're going to come back the next year?
It's great. It's, you know, I mean, I still don't have a notion what's going to happen, you know, in 4 or 5. So you know, I have to sit down with Steve Knight and see where his brain's at and what's gonna happen. But that's kind of the excitement. You can kind of imagine or predict or sort of guess what he might do, but you never know. And because he is such an original writer, you just never know what he's gonna throw at you. So, but it's lovely to know that, you know, we'll get to wrap this up in 2 years, and hopefully, what I love about the show is that it's improved, I think, and it's grown incrementally each season. And I think that's a sign of a good show, that the stories have kind of grown, the characters have grown, this sort of breadth of the show has grown, and that's a really good sign.
Well, I'm glad you don't know what's coming up, because it means I can ask you, what do you hope happens for Tommy moving forward?
Well, we really need to find out how he's gonna get himself out of this pickle with his family, you know, because he's backed himself into a corner now, because he seems to have isolated himself. And that last shot we saw in series 3, he's just standing alone in his big house, and everybody's gone with the cops. And so I don't know, you know, clearly, if it's Tommy, he's got a plan. So I just need to know what that plan is. And you know, there's the classic arc in all crime drama or gangster stuff, where there's the going legit, making it, and then the sort of descent or the fall. So you know, but Steve Knight might completely knock that on its head. But you know, it's very interesting to go from this to that, you know.
Yeah, definitely. What's the significance of Tommy's tattoos?
Tommy's tattoos. They're military tattoos. They're from his sort of regiment, I think. And when we were sort of figuring out the character in series 1, we took them. They were all real tattoos that the men that they are in the infantry that he, or battalion, or whatever it's called, was in war. I've forgotten. But that's where they come from.
You've said earlier how different this character is to you. Maybe the most different any character you ever played has been from you before. How are you most like Tommy?
Man, in no way at all, really. Can't ride a horse, don't smoke, can't drink whiskey, you know, terrible at fighting, awful coward. So anything, he's like my cooler, older, braver brother, you know.
Yeah, that's funny. Did you learn how to steer a carriage this season?
I did do that, actually. Yeah, did do that. But you know, there's very obedient horses. They're very amenable and understanding horses. So you know, it's not really that difficult.
Oh, that's good. And when are you going to start filming or shooting season 4?
Next year, sometime next year. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, thanks so much, Cillian, for talking with us again this year and talking the Peaky Blinders. That was really cool to talk about. Last year, you also gave my friends some advice that were going to Ireland of what to do, and they ended up going to an Irish pub and listening to some Irish music and had a great time. So thanks for that advice, Cillian.
You're welcome. It's free anytime.
Yeah, very good. Oh, well, great chatting with you, man.
Nice to talk to you. See you again.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Okay.